Hey, it's me, David. I feel like that clip is evidence of the fact that I'm just as awkward now as I was 9 years ago, and I find it very comforting that some things are seemingly never going to change. Hey, have you seen Star Wars The Force Awakens yet? Because if you haven't, then don't watch this video, because I am going to spoil it for you, and then you're going to be sad. So go away, go watch the film, come back if you want. If you don't, that's fine too. I'm going to try and keep this video fairly brief, because in the week that Star Wars The Force Awakens has been out, I feel like there's probably been literally millions of videos about this film, and I feel like everything that needs to be said has already been said by several people. So I don't really want to just repeat what everybody else has been saying, so I'm going to just try and, keep this nice and brief. I really just wanted to make a video because I haven't made one for 4 months, and the internet was basically crumbling in my absence. So, without further ado, let's talk about Star Wars The Force Awakens. I liked it, generally, on the whole. I thought it really did a good job of re-energizing the series and reintroducing it to a new generation. However, it did have its problems as well. We're going to start off with the good stuff though, because let's put our best foot forward first, you know what I'm saying? One thing I did really like about Star Wars The Force Awakens was the cast. I feel like both the old cast members and the new additions all did a really good job. Harrison Ford was great in this film, which is something that I wasn't expecting. I was skeptical going in because I've seen Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and it isn't great, but fortunately he was great in this film, and I think Han Solo is just as cool at the age of 73 as he was at the age of 30, or however old he was in the original trilogy, I really don't know. Carrie Fisher was also great in this film. I'm a big Princess Leia fan, and I think this film really just strengthens the character. She didn't have as much to do as Han Solo because she isn't on the front lines anymore, but she did have some great moments, e.g. when she sensed Han Solo's death, and you could just see it all on her face, how quietly devastated she was. I think that was a really powerful moment, and I'd love to see Princess Leia's Jedi abilities explored a little bit more, because it is often referenced that she has kind of these Jedi abilities, but we've never really seen them in action, and we didn't really get to see them in action here. So I'd love if in episode 8 she just sliced people up with a lightsaber. So speaking of Han and Leia, let's talk about Kylo Ren, their hideously grumpy son. I liked him. I really liked him. I saw some people complaining about him that he, isn't as intimidating as Darth Vader because he's skinnier and the helmet isn't as menacing, but I think that really works because the guy sees himself as inferior to Darth Vader, so it makes sense that we see him as less intimidating than Darth Vader. And to be fair, the guy is still quite intimidating, he has a lot of very unnerving moments, especially after he kills Han Solo and he goes around punching the bullet wound in his chest. Like, I feel like that really displays just how mentally ill this guy is. So I think he was a pretty great villain. I'm interested to see more of him, interested to see where the character goes, because they're either going to go either the redemption route, which they went with Darth Vader, he redeems himself in Return of the Jedi, or they're going to go for the, let's just kill this guy because he killed Han Solo and we're never going to forgive him. I have a bad feeling they're going to go towards the redemption route. Leia obviously is very desperate to still see the light in him, but to be honest, I'm not really that interested in seeing him redeemed, because I was pretty pissed off when he killed Han Solo, and now I just want to see him, get his just desserts. I'm like, get out of here, you ain't coming back. You kill Han Solo, you're not welcome in my home. And the death of Han Solo is obviously the big thing that people have been talking about, that people have been desperately trying not to spoil. I do feel like the internet has been surprisingly considerate with this spoiler. I've seen a lot of people desperately trying to stop it from getting out. My thoughts on the death is that I kind of expected it, to be honest. I mean, the trailers heavily alluded to someone being killed off, and I thought, well, it's not going to be one of the new additions, because Disney obviously wants to pass this franchise off into new, fresh-faced territory. And so out of the old cast members, I thought, well, who's going to die? It's probably going to be Harrison Ford, the guy who openly dislikes Star Wars and can't be asked to talk about it. So I did kind of expect it. That being said, the film did have me fooled for a minute. When they were on the bridge and Kylo Ren was giving him the lightsaber, for a second, I really did believe that Kylo Ren was going to turn good, that I mean, that would have been a pretty good plot twist. I mean, no one would have really expected that if Kylo Ren had turned good and then maybe someone else had turned evil instead. Like, that would have surprised people, and I really thought they were going to go there for a minute, and I thought, this is great, happy ending, hooray! And then the guy got stabbed through the chest and fell hundreds of feet into the planet core. I mean, it was a sad moment. It was a sad moment. But as I said, I kind of prepared myself for it. I did have a feeling Han Solo was going to bite the dust, so it probably didn't impact me as much as maybe someone who hadn't watched the trailers 17,000 times. But Han Solo was a genuinely iconic part of the Star Wars franchise, and I do think there's going to be a void left in his absence. I think they're going to try and fill the void with the new characters. Obviously, Rey is now the co-pilot of the Millennium Falcon. I've also seen some people saying Poe Dameron is kind of like the new Han Solo. You know, he's a very kind of like charming, roguish pilot. And like, yeah, I can make a case for both of them, but I think I'm going to have to see more before we can elevate them to the Han Solo level, because I do think Han Solo was probably one of the most well-defined characters in the Star Wars universe, and I'm not sure if those two are really well-defined enough to be on his level at this point. But in the future, maybe they could grow into the role. I'm very open to that idea. John Boyega, Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac were very likeable as newcomers Finn, Rey and Poe Dameron. I really feel like they wanted to be there, they had a lot of enthusiasm, and I feel like they captured the energy of the original trilogy, the energy that was absent in the prequel trilogy. And I don't hate the prequels, okay? I mean, I was in the prequels, basically. That being said, it is true that they perhaps didn't capture the adventure and the fun of the original trilogy. There was a lot of slowly walking from place to place, a lot of discussions about intergalactic space politics and taxation of trade routes, and that's the kind of stuff which doesn't capture everybody's imagination. I mean, I think I have a sentimental connection to the prequel trilogy because I grew up on the prequels, you know, so I did a lot of digging into the Clone Wars and all this sort of stuff. I do feel kind of a connection to the prequels, but I do feel like this film really disowns them. There's a pivotal moment where a planet, which probably isn't Coruscant, but looks an awful lot like Coruscant and has like a Senate on it and everything, and it just gets fucking destroyed. And I feel like that's J.J. Abrams saying, no, we're not going back to the space politics. Kind of a shame, you know, it would have been nice to have a little bit of trade routes, you know, I'd love to see what the Trade Federation are up to right now, but, you know, it's fine, I can get over it. I know that the prequels aren't everybody's cup of tea. Certainly in comparison to the prequels, this movie was definitely all go. There was a lot of action sequences, some of them good, but this does kind of bring me into the stuff that I didn't like, the bad territory, because I almost feel like this movie had too much action in it. It really went from set piece to set piece to set piece, and it kind of got a little bit exhausting, and I kind of just wanted a break. I was like, can we just take a moment to absorb the surroundings, get to know the characters a bit better? J.J. Abrams didn't really allow us to have that. There was pretty much just action non-stop. There was a lot of great action in it, but I equally think that there was some action that could have easily been cut, e.g. the weird squid tentacle monster thing on the Millennium Falcon. Didn't really make a lot of sense to me. It felt very out of place. I feel like it was really just an excuse to get the two guys from the raid to come into Star Wars for a minute, and they didn't even have anything fun to do. They just stood there and then got killed, basically. So I think they could have cut moments out like that to allow for some more character moments, because I do think in the end, a lot of the set pieces kind of blend into one, and so while in the original trilogy, the action is some of the most memorable parts, I feel like in The Force Awakens the most memorable parts are actually the smaller character moments rather than the action, because there's so much action that, like I said, it all kind of just blends into one. It's hard to kind of pinpoint an action-packed moment that was really, truly memorable. One of the character moments in this movie, for example, which I really liked, would be when Rey and Finn first escape from Jakku, I believe it's called, or basically Tatooine by a different name, when they escape on the Millennium Falcon from the TIE Fighters, and then once they've got away, they meet up in the middle of the ship, and they are just so full of adrenaline, and they're just so buzzing about what just happened, and they just can't stop talking about how great it was. I feel like that was a very nice human moment. Another great moment would be, I like when Han Solo was just constantly trying to take away Chewbacca's crossbow thing, and he was like, this thing's cool, why was I not using this earlier? It's a shame he didn't get to use it for very long because he got fucking stabbed in the chest. Whatever, you know, we're just going to have to get over that. A final thing that I really did want to highlight was during Han and Leia's big reunion, their first meeting for years, and then C-3PO just pops up and says, hey, it's me, C-3PO, you remember me. I feel like that was just something I could relate to because, you know, that's a kind of awkward thing that I would do during someone's big reunion. I feel like I'd probably just pop up and say something to really kill the moment. So I relate to C-3PO very much in that moment. I do sadly have a few complaints about the plot. I do think that The Force Awakens was very derivative of A New Hope. It followed a lot of the same beats, which I think was a shame. I mean, especially the big thing at the end was basically another Death Star, and it's like, is there no other plan that these bad guys can come up with? Do they all sit around a table and go, right, what about a third Death Star? And then just gets blown up again. Like, I felt like they really need to come up with some new ideas, or if they're really set on the Death Star idea, they need to come up with a way to make it impenetrable, rather than just have like, oh, it's got this little thing again, which might get blown up, but you know, it's not like that's already happened twice. I don't know, I mean, it just didn't really seem to make a lot of sense to me, but it's fine, whatever. I want to tread carefully with this last point, because I know a lot of people really like Rey, and I like Rey, and I've been a strong advocate for female Jedi for a long time. I mean, some of my favourite characters are female Jedi. You've got Ayla Secura, Shark T, Luminara and Dooley. I mean, they're great characters, but at the end of the movie, when Rey defeats Kylo Ren pretty easily, really, it just didn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I was there in the cinema and I was thinking, how is this possibly happening? Kylo Ren has been trained for the last 10-20 years, and Rey found out she had Force powers like an hour ago. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Lightsaber fighting is hard, I know, because when I did it, I fucked it up. Drop it down too far to there when you're coming to attack me, because the whole of your head is free. Like, take a step up like that. That's it, yeah, really bad for a bit more. A bit this. I'm going to take a step out to the side. I am, not you. And I'm more above. 4 more above. 10 more above. So. And as we saw in The Empire Strikes Back, Force powers can also be very difficult to get a grasp on. We saw Luke really struggling with his Force powers when he was getting trained by Yoda. So it kind of just boggles my mind a little bit that Rey just captured it so easily. It just didn't really make a lot of sense. It seemed like sloppy script writing to me. I mean, and it kind of undermines Kylo Ren as a villain as well. I mean, this guy killed Han Solo. He should be a big deal. He should be one of the big villains of the new trilogy. And he was defeated almost immediately. And it just kind of undermines him. And it's like, if they're really trying to push this guy as the new big bad, it's like, well, why did you have him defeated really easily? You know, Darth Vader wasn't defeated easily in A New Hope. He kills Obi-Wan. In Empire Strikes Back, he beats the shit out of Luke. And then in Return of the Jedi, the only reason he really gets defeated, I think, is because he'd kind of already turned good by the time that he was fighting Luke. He was kind of like, I don't think my heart's in this anymore. So, I don't know. I think it was a shame. I think I think it's detrimental to both Kylo Ren and Rey, because it makes Rey kind of less interesting that she can try to pick up everything so easily, because it's like, well, what's she going to struggle with? Nothing, evidently. And then Kylo Ren, well, he's not an intimidating villain anymore, really, because he got defeated by a novice pretty easily. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't ruin the film. I like The Force Awakens a lot, but I do think that it didn't make tons of sense, and it was a bit of a bum note to end the film on, because it kind of just left me feeling a little bit confused. And I get that they're saying, well, maybe she was secretly a Jedi, maybe she's had special training, but it's like, well, that's an assumption, you know, so we can't really just base the plot of this film on an assumption that maybe we might get it explained in the next one. It just, I don't know. I could talk about this stuff all day, but we don't have all day. We have till the end of this video, which is now. Thank you very much for watching my review. I'm David Craig. I hope you liked the video. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Am I out of line to be criticising Rey? I mean, I like the character, I just think that final fight didn't make a lot of sense, you know? Am I going insane? Please let me know. Probably I am. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, hopefully. Force push, yeah? From the beginning.